What is up, guys, and welcome back to part 26 of my F1 2016 career mode here at the Spanish Grand Prix. If you've missed Season 1 and, of course, the first 4 rounds of Season 2, then you can click the little card annotation in the top right-hand corner of your screens right now to go catch up with everything that's happened over Season 1 and, of course, this season so far. But as you can see on screens right now, we're currently leading the Drivers' Championship, 23 points ahead of Kimi Räikkönen at the moment, which is absolutely fantastic start to the season. 3 wins and a podium, and hopefully we can carry on that momentum into today's Spanish Grand Prix. However, Spain isn't one of the best tracks for the car that we are currently driving. Last season in Season 1, we got a 22nd position. We managed to finish the race. We didn't crash out, but we were in 22nd place. And it was a really difficult race for us. So hopefully that doesn't happen again today. Hopefully it's a little bit more positive. We are battling with the other guys and not just having a race all by ourselves. We're going to have to wait and see how that develops. But for now, we're going to head back to the menus because I think some of the other guys have upgraded their cars. Here we are then in the menus, and as you can see, McLaren and Honda have done a couple of upgrades onto their car. And it looks like Mercedes, AMG, Petronas have also reduced the chassis weight on their car as well. So as we look at the vehicle performance comparison, Mercedes have now jumped up to the top of that. They were down in 4th at the Russian Grand Prix, but now they're up at the top of that one. So unfortunately, we are now the 3rd best team in Formula 1. Looks like McLaren and Honda have also jumped up above Williams and Sahara Force India as well. So we will be looking to possibly upgrade our car after today's race and once again jump above Ferrari and possibly Mercedes as well to become the best team in Formula 1. But we do need quite a lot of resource points to upgrade either the engine or the drag or possibly even the downforce ahead of the Monaco Grand Prix. We're not too sure about what we're going to upgrade yet. We're just going to wait and see how many resource points we get after today's race. But for now, let's head into practice for the Spanish Grand Prix.
Welcome to the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia for the Spanish Grand Prix. Over the next few minutes, the teams will be heading out onto this classic Formula 1 track for what we're expecting to be a very hectic practice session.
Here we are then in the practice session going through the track acclimatization at the moment. We did actually manage to get a purple score in this one, which was absolutely fantastic. It maximizes the amount of resource points that we can use, possibly at the end of this race weekend, and maybe even upgrade the car even further before the Monaco Grand Prix. And then we did the tyre wear management, which was brilliant for us. We only had 1 red, the rest of them were purple, which means another purple score and means even more resource points in this race weekend. So hopefully we should definitely be able to upgrade the car before Monaco. However, we did lose out a little bit. We couldn't, unfortunately, beat the qualifying pace time that they set for us. So we managed to get a 1:24.0, which was our best lap time on those soft tyres. So unfortunately, it wasn't enough to beat the qualifying pace. So we do lose out on a couple of resource points for that one. But we did manage to complete the track acclimatization and the tyre wear management as well. So we're definitely very happy about that. And 11th place in practice 1 on the soft tyres. I mean, it's not the best of positions compared to everyone else. Obviously, they're on on worse tyres than us. But this isn't one of my best tracks. And hopefully, we can get into Q2, maybe into Q3. And possibly, you know, maybe challenge for a couple of points at today's race weekend. But we're going to find out, see how it goes as we head into qualifying.
Here we are at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia for the start of today's qualifying session. It won't be long now until we're ready to join the action down at trackside.
Here we are then for the first qualifying session of the day. Now, it is going to be very difficult here at today's Spanish Grand Prix for myself. You know, our car isn't quite set up towards more of what this Spanish Grand Prix demands. It demands more downforce because there are high-speed corners in it, and our car is more focused on straight-line speed. And yeah, pretty much just less drag and not really focused more on the downforce. So we are going to struggle a little bit in compared with our car, but also I'm not exactly too good at the Spanish Grand Prix either. So, you know, I think I will lose out a little bit with my ability as well. But we're going to head out on track, see what we can do in Q1. Hopefully, it will be enough to get into Q2. Here we are then in Q1, just going over our first couple of laps. And unfortunately, this happened in the opening stages on the super soft tyres. Just went over into this left-right chicane. Got a little bit too eager on the power. Lost the back end, went into the wall, lost my front wing. And unfortunately, lost a lot of time as well. But unfortunately, luckily for us, our qualifying was not over. So we were able to set a lap time later on in the session. Coming down towards the line, set our first lap. It's a 1:23.5, but it is only good enough for 17th position at the moment. So we do need to improve on that lap time. Hopefully try and get into Q2 as we go through on our second lap at the moment, and what will be our final lap in this qualifying session, round the last couple of corners now. And then we just take too much of the curb there on the left hand side. We were actually positive on our previous best time, and yeah, that was it for qualifying. We did not make it out of Q1, and we'll be starting the race down in 19th position on the grid. Jolyon Palmer, he got through into Q2 luckily for us, but 19th position on the grid, a very, very disappointing qualifying position for us. I mean, we've got pole positions in the last couple of races, we've got race wins, we haven't finished off the podium in the first 4 races, and now to be starting down in 19th position is very, very disappointing. Maybe if I didn't crash out early on, I might have been able to set a banker lap and maybe even improved as the session went on, but a little bit disappointing that we're down in 19th place. But it's going to make the race more fun. Hopefully we can come through the field, make a lot of overtakes, and definitely get back into the points. But that's just what we're going to have to wait and see for. But without any further ado, let's over to the race for the Spanish Grand Prix.
What does the Spanish Grand Prix have in store for us today, I wonder? I hope we see some tight wheel-to-wheel action down the main straight, circa Mansell and Senna way back in '91. Or maybe we'll have a more strategic race here on a track where overtaking can be difficult. It's a sellout crowd of 140,000 here today as we await lights out for the 730-metre sprint down to turn 1 of this 2.9-mile racetrack. Overtaking is challenging through these 16 corners, but there's still a lot of high-speed excitement to be found, including the flat-out turn 3 and the terrifying blind right of turn 9. I'm joined again today by none other than Anthony Davidson. Tell me, Ant, obviously there's a lot of development work that goes on with these cars between the races. You've been both a test driver and a race driver. What differences are there in the way you approach those roles?
Interesting question, Crofty. They're two very different mindsets. I mean, when I tested for BAR, we had full in-season testing where, per driver, you'd cover up to 15,000 kilometres per season. And in that role, it was more about working for the team, trying to help them improve the car and drive as systematically as you could, so that that data could be analysed in the most consistent way. When you're lining up on the grid for a race, however, your frame of mind's all about what you can get out of the situation on that day, and the car's the tool to help you achieve what you want. You still want to focus on setup, of course, but it's more about the here and now, getting yourself as far up the field as possible, and less about development work for the future.
Keep your eyes open on the run to turn 1 and keep it clean. We want to come out in one piece. Good luck.
It's race day here at the Spanish Grand Prix, and we are starting down in a very, very disappointing 19th position on the grid. It was not the best of qualifying sessions yesterday, but it just means that we've got a lot of work to do here today in the race, and it means that we're going to be making a lot of overtakes as well. So the episode should be very fun from now on. Looking at the race strategy for today, they want me to start on the mediums and then pit for the hards halfway through. However, I tried out the hard tyres last season and I did not like them at all. They had no pace in them. I was so far behind everybody else. So I'm just going to decide not to use the hard tyres at all if I can in this race. Start on the soft tyres, pit for the mediums, and yeah, pretty much just go from there and see how this race goes. Here we are getting the race underway with a formation lap, just getting this formation lap underway, warming up the tyres, warming up the brakes, and for the first time in a while, we're starting right down at the back of the field, so having to wait for all these guys to get going to go for the formation lap. But here we are underway, just behind Valtteri Bottas. And just warming up our tyres, warming up our brakes at the moment, just making sure that we are all nice and sorted for the start of the race. It's going to be a difficult one here today at the Spanish Grand Prix. You know, we're starting very, very far down the field compared to what we usually like. But hopefully the straight line speed that we have in this car should allow us to get a lot of overtakes down the main start-finish straight. So hopefully we can do that here at today's Spanish Grand Prix. But we're just going to have to wait and see as we're on board with the start for the Spanish Grand Prix. The lights start to come on now. It's 5 red lights. Lights out and away we go for the Spanish Grand Prix. It's a fairly okay start compared to the rest of the field. We've got a 3 wide couple of guys going ahead of us at the moment. Unfortunately, that stops us from going any further above the rest of the guys. So we decide to back out of that. There's no point going in for a move there while they're going 3 wide. Then we try around the outside of turn 1, the inside of turn 2, and that puts us up into 16th position for the time being. Up next for us is Pascal Wehrlein as there's a yellow flag out at the moment. Looks like the Red Bull of Daniel Ricciardo has gone for a little spin down through turn 3, so not too sure what has happened to him at the moment. Hopefully we have a look at a replay of what happened to Daniel Ricciardo, but virtual safety car is deployed So that is going to neutralise the race. Let's have a look at a replay of what happened at the start of the race. So everything seems to get okay, nice and fine. There's a little bit of wheel spin from my car at the back of the grid. And just look at the space in the middle. You know, had we got past the Force Indias, we would have been in that space. We could have possibly gone for more overtakes down in towards turn 1. But unfortunately, we were held up by the Force Indias and the Manners. And we couldn't quite do that. But look out for the Red Bull of Daniel Ricciardo. He's stuck behind a Mercedes and a Ferrari at the moment. And oh, there's just a little bit of contact there with the Ferrari of Sebastian Vettel. That's enough to put him into a spin and put him into the wall. Hopefully we get a replay of what's happened on board with Daniel Ricciardo, which we do right now. So he's going side by side with the Mercedes through turn 2, right behind the Ferrari through turn 3. He's pushed a little bit out wide by the Mercedes, but Daniel Ricciardo, who just sort of takes his normal line, not really realises that the Ferrari is there, goes straight into the side of him and kind of puts himself out. So it was his own fault there for crashing from Daniel Ricciardo. We're back on board with myself at the end of lap 1 as the virtual safety car is now ending. So we should hopefully get a good run on Pascal Wehrlein. Unfortunately, we dropped off a little bit through the final corner, but the straight line speed that we have on this car is allowing us to pull the Manor back in, and we are right as his tail as we go through turn 1. All these guys actually held up by my teammate Jolyon Palmer, so not too sure whether he has a problem or not in this race at the moment as we go through turn 3. Looks like we've had a great drive through this corner, side by side with Pascal Wehrlein. Can we get the move done up the inside? Yes, we can. Job done on the Manor. Maybe a move on Sergio Perez as well, which we do. Give him a little knock there on the outside, so a little bit unfortunate, but he did actually turn into me. Unfortunately, I forgot to include the replay in this, but he did actually turn into me, and it was a little bit of a shame because I do want to keep these races as clean as possible for you guys. But I'm right on the back of Roman Grosjean right now, batting for 12th position. All these guys are still, you know, very, very close to each other, so I do have a good chance of getting into the points for today's race. We are right behind Roman Grosjean, moving over to the right hand side surely, which we do the inside line down in towards turn 1. We got the job done before we've even got there, and unfortunately we're just not quite close enough to get past Esteban Gutierrez or Fernando Alonso and get into the points down in towards turn 1. But we will try and get past Esteban Gutierrez in the next couple of corners, and here we are halfway through lap 3, right behind the other Haas driver of Esteban Gutierrez, following in the slipstream and the DRS, pulling over to the left hand side, side by side, down into the hairpin. Esteban Gutierrez just gives us a little bit of room there, enough to get past, and there we go, up into P11, and up next for us is Fernando Alonso in the Manor. Looks like he's got Jenson Button just ahead of him and a Red Bull. We do know that actually Jenson Button has a little problem with his car. Not too sure what it is. It's not too serious, but it is slowing him down. We are right on the back of that McLaren driver right now as we go through turn 3. Get very, very close there to the back of the McLaren driver, but due to that great straight line speed that we have on this Renault, we get the job done up the inside of Jenson Button. Run it a little bit too wide. That's going to allow him to have a little look up the inside and then maybe round the outside in towards the turn 5. But he doesn't try it, and there we go, up into P10. We're into the points in this Spanish Grand Prix, and we are following right behind Fernando Alonso, who's currently in 8th, who pits on lap 5 here. So that means we are up into P9 for the time being, up into P8, and a couple more guys into the pits as well. So that puts us up into P6. So great start to this Spanish Grand Prix, and up next for us is Max Verstappen. But we're going to come into the pits on this lap, and hopefully it is going to be a good pit stop for us. Put us out maybe ahead of Fernando Alonso. He was the guy who we were battling with before he decided to pit. So whether he's done the undercut or not, we're just going to have to wait and see. But we're going to come into our pit box now. We need a fast pit stop here from the Renault pit crew. And then hopefully we can catch up to maybe Fernando Alonso, possibly be ahead of him. But it was a good pit stop there from Renault. Very, very good. And yeah, I'm not too sure. I can't really see Fernando Alonso on track at the moment. There he is going down the start-finish straight. So I think he has just about nicked us down in towards turn 1. But that means we're just going to push like hell, try and catch him up, and try and get past him within the next couple of corners. We're down into P20 at the moment. But there are a lot of guys ahead of us who have not pitted in this race, who started on the medium tyres. So we are right behind Fernando Alonso right now on lap 11, who is also right behind my teammate Jolyon Palmer, who looks like he's dropped off quite a bit as well. But through the final corner, we're right behind these guys as Sauber of Felipe Nasr as well, just ahead of us. We'll be looking to get past him very, very soon indeed, as Fernando Alonso maybe has a look on Jolyon Palmer. We have a look on both of those. Jolyon Palmer giving us a little swipe there down the straight, and Fernando Alonso also cuts us up into turn 1. Not too sure what both those guys were doing, trying to sort of give me a little bargee down in towards turn 1, just trying to sort of squeeze me out of the overtake and stop me from getting past. But nevertheless, I managed to pull it through and get up into 14th position in the Spanish Grand Prix. But we are right behind Felipe Nasr now on lap 13, battling for 13th position in this race, right behind Felipe Nasr. Maybe have a little look of a cutback move in towards turn 5, which we do, side by side with the Sauber. Can we get the job done in towards turn 6 and 7, up the inside, and it looks like we've got the job done. No, we haven't. The Sauber is still there with Felipe Nasr on the inside. He'll get the inside line in towards turn 8, but we managed to pull it through and hold on to P13 for the time being. But we didn't have the best of exits, so that means Felipe Nasr will have a run down into the hairpin. But fortunately for us, he is not close enough, and we hold on to the position for the time being. And we cut ahead now to lap 15 in this Spanish Grand Prix. Looks like there's a couple of drivers in the pits at the moment. So we go through the final corner. All running a little bit too wide, getting stuck on the gravel. And that gives Jolyon Palmer a very, very opportunistic move to go down in towards turn 1. He's got the job done before he's even got there. A couple of drivers coming out the pits as well. We've got those guys, and unfortunately we've dropped down behind our teammate after making that silly mistake on the exit of the final corner, going into the gravel, and unfortunately losing a position to our teammate. But we are still in P6, you know, just ahead of Fernando Alonso as well, which is very, very good. And here we are on lap 17, deciding to come into the pits for our second pit stop in this race, and going on to the another set of medium tyres now. Just getting the car stopped there for the line, getting it stopped for the pit limiter, which is very, very good indeed. There's a Ferrari also coming into the pits. We've got Fernando Alonso right behind us making a pit stop at the exact same time. So here we go, battle of the pit crews. Which team is going to come out on top? It looks like it's probably going to be Renault. That was a very, very quick pit stop there, and it is. We get in front of Fernando Alonso. Very, very easy indeed. And where's that put us out on track? I'm not too sure at the moment, but we are ahead of the Red Bull of Daniel Ricciardo, who had that incident very, very early on in the race. And we are in P18 at the moment, behind Marcus Ericsson on lap 18 in this race. But once again, a lot of the guys ahead of us have not pitted yet. Well, still due to make a pit stop, including my teammate Jolyon Palmer, and some of the other guys running on the hard tyres till the end of the race as well. So there's a little bit of mixed strategies. We are behind Marcus Ericsson on lap 20 as he decides to come into the pits for his second pit stop in the race. That means we bump up into P15. Jolyon Palmer also in the pits at the moment, but I don't think we're going to be able to get him. He's just a little bit too far up the road at the moment, going down into turn 1. There we go, Jolyon Palmer coming out of the pits, and he has a big gap to us at the moment in this Spanish Grand Prix. But we're going to push and try and catch up to him within the next couple of laps. We cut ahead to lap 22 at the moment, running it very, very wide through turn 3, having to lift off the throttle. Up next for us is Rio Haryanto in the Manor, so we will be looking to close up on him as we take quite a lot of inside line in towards turn 4. And running it wide on turn 4 as well. No, going into the wall, and we put our car into the wall, and something has broken on our Renault. No wheels have flown off our car, but something has broken internally on our Renault, and that means we are out of today's Spanish Grand Prix. Let's have a look at a replay of what's happened through there. So first of all, running it very, very wide on turn 3. It was not the cleanest of laps. We were making a lot of mistakes on this laps. Going through turn 4 now. Then we take too much of the inside. That sets us up badly through the corner, because that means we run it wide, and then a little bit too much on the throttle off track puts us into a spin, into the wall, and unfortunately out of today's Spanish Grand Prix. And that unfortunately gives us our first DNF of the season.
Brilliant stuff from Red Bull today. What a superb victory. And I have to wonder, Anthony Davidson, just what set them apart from the competition here.
It was a question of right place, right time today. We were looking at an entirely different race before the safety car came out, but they were able to take full advantage after the field had been bunched up.
And I can see now the drivers are making their way out. We need Red Bull fighting at the front. They do an incredible amount for Formula One. And that's another winner's trophy heading back to Milton Keynes.
So very, very disappointing to get our first DNF of the season, especially as we probably would have got a couple of points here at today's race. And that also means we're going to lose out quite a bit in the championship, because Kimi Räikkönen got a fantastic podium. But yeah, it was just not a good race. You know, we started down in 19th position, and to be fair, we were coming back through the field, and I do reckon we would have scored points. Jolyon Palmer finished in 8th position. We were sort of right behind him, so I do reckon we would have got either 9th, we could have got 8th, or we could have got Lewis Hamilton as well. I'm not too sure, but we would have definitely scored points here today at the Spanish Grand Prix, so we have lost out big time. But going through the standings, Max Verstappen wins today's race with Danny Kvyat finishing in 2nd, a great result for the Toro Rosso driver. Our rival Kimi Räikkönen finishes in 3rd with Nico Rosberg in 4th, Roman Grosjean in 5th with Sebastian Vettel 6th, Lewis Hamilton finishes the race in 7th with Jolyon Palmer 8th, Esteban Gutierrez 9th, and Carlos Sainz getting the final World Championship points. Let's have a look at how this affects us in the drivers' standings. And as you can see, we are still leading the drivers' standings, but the gap is now 8 points to Kimi Raikkonen. I mean, it is still early stages. There are still a lot of races left to go in this season. You know, we're not even really should be thinking about the drivers' standings right now. But it is good to be in the lead of Kimi Raikkonen, so we are still very, very happy with that. Let's have a look at how this affects us in the constructors' standings. And in the constructors' standings, we are still in the lead, but the gap has come down to 14 points over Ferrari. But once again, just like the driver standings, we're not really thinking too much about the constructors at the moment because it is still very early stages. We still have a lot of races left to go, and we won't really start thinking about the constructors and the driver standings till possibly about Belgium, maybe the halfway stage of the season. Then we can really start to see whether we will perform well or whether it's just a bit of a very, very good start and a bit lucky with the AI getting a lot of reliability issues at the start of the season. But that is it for today's Spanish Grand Prix. Let's head back to the menus. So having a quick little look at the rivalry update after today's Spanish Grand Prix, and due to having such a bad race here today, that means Kimi Raikkonen beats us in the rivalry against him. So that is very, very disappointing. We were so far ahead before going into this race weekend, and because of a dreadful qualifying session, a dreadful race, meant that we have actually lost out to him in the rivalry. So that is really, really disappointing. And there you can see on the laptop, we've lost out to Kimi Raikkonen, and we're going to have to go again against him, starting at the Monaco Grand Prix to try and get that back. Look at the resource points. We have 950, but unfortunately that's only enough to upgrade the fuel efficiency on our car, which we could do, but there's not really much point doing that at the moment. We want to mainly focus on engine power and drag going into the next couple of races, maybe even sort of the chassis weight going into Monaco or something like that. We'll just sort of wait and see. But that is it for today's Spanish Grand Prix. If you have enjoyed the video, don't forget to smash that like button. Also, subscribe to my channel if you are new around here. We're going to have this career mode coming to you every single day for the whole of Season 2. And if you are subscribed to my channel, then you never have to miss a video from me. But that is it for today's race. I will see you next time at the Monaco Grand Prix, the jewel of the F1 calendar. But until then, it's goodbye from me.